So you may have heard of the writer's strike, right? Well, have a seat, grab a snack, because for a 2023 2-for-1 special, you're getting an actor's strike as well. Hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency and welcome back to my channel. Today we are here to talk about the recent developments with the strikes that are going on in Hollywood right now, because things have been developing very quickly and are making a drastic turn for the worse. If you haven't seen or heard about the writer's strike that happened back in May, I made a whole video talking about it. But in that video, I talk about how the writer's strike is directly impacting and changing media, television, and entertainment for all of us. And while that is true, the actor strike that is now happening is going to be even worse. And the fact that both strikes are happening simultaneously means that Hollywood is kind of doomed, at least until they get their shit together. I know that's a lot, very heavy. And in this video, we're gonna talk about what is the actor's strike, why is it important, and how is it going to impact Hollywood entertainment and you personally. And then throughout, and definitely at the end, we're going to get into some of my thoughts on what I think about the whole situation and what you can do to help or not. Before we do any of that, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any content that I have coming out. I post about all things TV, pop culture, commentary, and fashion. I also do some tier lists and like media analysis, if that's your cup of tea. Also make sure to leave a like on this video because it helps out more than you know with the YouTube algorithm. And I've just recently moved to LA and I've been going to a bunch of different premieres and events and stuff. So if you want to keep up with me and see all of that, you can follow me on my socials here at Imurgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. But with all that out the way, let's talk about this actor strike. So I've been referring to this specific strike as the actor strike, but more specifically, this is a strike with the organization called SAG. And if you're unfamiliar with what SAG is, that's okay, because honestly, until I started talking about TV, I didn't know what SAG was either. So if you didn't know, SAG or SAG-AFTRA stands for Screen Actors Guild, or Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Yeah, and according to their website, SAG-AFTRA represents approximately 160,000 actors, announcers, broadcast journalists, dancers, DJs, news writers, news editors, program hosts, puppeteers, recording artists, singers, stunt performers, voiceover artists, and other media professionals. Wow. So yeah, this union covers pretty much all of entertainment throughout America and the world. And normally SAG is in place to ensure that actors or talent have certain protections with labor and compensation as a union does. So the fact that this entire union is going on strike is not looking great for Hollywood. And this is already on top of the writer's strike, where all the writers for everything in entertainment are already on strike and have been since May, with all the talent actors in SAG also strike, which consists of pretty much all of the A-list actors, celebrities, and pretty much everyone in entertainment. Hollywood is gonna come to a standstill. Now the next logical question would be like, okay, why is everybody going on strike? And many of the reasons for the strike are very similar to why the Writers Guild went on strike back in May. According to a Reuters article, look at me citing sources. Oh, I'm glad I got this degree. SAG is demanding higher compensation in the streaming TV era, plus safeguards around the use of artificial intelligence. And these demands are pretty warranted because, like I mentioned in my writer's strike video, with the rise of streaming services, actors and writers alike have been seeing a drastic decrease in the amount that they're making from residuals, which is basically the pay that you receive each time your show or work that you're in is replayed, typically on cable networks, but with streaming services, it's not necessarily a thing. And the language around that in contracts is kind of shifty, so people aren't being paid in the same way and in a fair way on streaming services as they would in traditional TV and cable media. And this issue is exacerbated when you think of how modern streaming is nowadays. We've been seeing seasons of shows with drastically fewer episodes that have timelines that are drastically spread apart, which causes a lot of job insecurity for these actors and writers. For example, an actor can be on a show that's a reboot of a show that used to have like 20 episodes a season, and now in this modern age of streaming, that show could now have like 6 episodes total that season. So instead of being paid 26 times, they're paid 6 times. And instead of that show being auto-renewed for season 2, pretty much exactly when season 1 ends and have that continuous stream of income, they have to wait 1, 2, 3 years in between seasons. And again, that's already on top of the fact that actors nowadays aren't being paid the same amount that actors back in the day were being paid, which I also have a video talking about. Like, damn, this is kind of full circle with the content, you know, like if you're really trying to be in the whole roomy Hollywood cinematic universe, like you should really subscribe so that you don't miss out on all of this. Let me stop. And then there's the issue of AI and generative AI. Actors are striking because they want to ensure that their digital images won't be altered or tampered with through the use of generative AI. And I know that AI in general has been a really big buzzword and been the next big thing in news and media, because it is. But generative AI specifically allows people, or in this case, producers, editors, and such to generate brand new content of these actors and of different scenes based on a variety of inputs. And how it's been recently more popularly seen is with localization and voice dubbing. I remember there was this tweet that went around a couple months ago showing how this movie's editing was able to use AI to actually dub an actor's lines in multiple languages where it looked like they were actually speaking the language themselves. And that's really useful on the business side because they can release the movie in different languages without having to reshoot or without having to use subtitles or having the cast actually know languages other than English. But that can get into tricky territory when it comes into the actual usage of the talent's likeness, which isn't necessarily explicitly fleshed out in a lot of actors' contracts when they're initially signing on. And AI is only going to get better, meaning that it's a possibility that in the future there can be entire scenes of movies be generated using AI, using the likeness of real life actors without them actually having to be there. Which again, sounds really cool in concept, but there is no real language for how actors are compensated for that. And as things progress, if language isn't explicitly stated for that, more problems are going to arise, which ultimately makes sense why SAG is pushing for more safeguards around that. But now that we have a firm understanding of what the strike situation is really giving, let's talk about why this moment in time is so impactful. Like I've been mentioning, Hollywood has not seen a double strike like this of both the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild since the 1960s. And the impacts of this will definitely be felt around the country and around the world. Because of course, for the past couple of months, you've had writers' walk, which have been affecting shows coming out this fall, as well as different award shows and late night TV being canceled. But with the Actors Guild, you have actual A-list actors like Jennifer Lawrence, Quinta Brunson, and Meryl Streep saying that they're willing and ready to walk off of the job until negotiations are had and a proper resolution is made. But until then, that means that pretty much all sets are coming to a halt, which means that this upcoming fall season and winter season of TV, movies, and media is going to be very scarce if there's going to be anything at all. Because if no one is writing for these shows and no one is filming or acting for any of these shows, there's just not content being made, babes. And as a follow-up to what I was mentioning in my last video with the writer's strike, saying that overseas productions that weren't necessarily in America would not be as affected as the ones here in America, with SAG going on strike as well, yeah, this is going to impact y'all across the pond as well. Because the talent over there is also in SAG, meaning that shows like House of the Dragon that were continuing filming even with the writer's strike may have to come to a halt for the time being, which means that even more shows are going to be delayed. To quote a Forbes article, a SAG after strike would mean that actors would cease performing, auditioning, entering agreements for future work, and participating in press and publicity for current or previous work. Meaning that even press tours for movies that have been filmed and have been waiting to be released may be impacted and have to end or change drastically. In fact, one of my mutuals, Simply Simone, had a whole video talking about how the recent movie Haunted House's premiere is being changed into a whole fan event in light of the actor strike.
We're already seeing studios trying to pivot their premieres and hope on fandom to drive marketing. The Haunted Mansion premiere was supposed to happen at Disneyland this Saturday. They're turning that into a fan event. You already have international productions talking about how the writer's strike will impact them, as well as, who at SAG is qualifying to film. Fox is already adjusting their fall schedule with adult animation and unscripted series, aka reality TV. You also have the Writers Guild over there talking about the AI guidelines amid the concerns from members. So this strike happening is having impact not just in the main unions in the US, but also international.
This overall is just going to be a giant slowing. What we're going to experience if there isn't a very swift resolution to all of this is a drastic slowing in Hollywood. Like many of us, especially all of us in Gen Z, have never seen before. Because like I said, the last time that both unions have went on strike was in the 1960s. Like my parents weren't even alive at that point. So how this ends up panning out is going to be very interesting because us as regular individuals don't really have a lot of say or weight in this outside of protesting, showing up, and being active on social media, which I recommend y'all do if y'all are passionate about this sort of thing. But most of this comes down to the execs at these different networks and corporations that are in negotiations with SAG and the Writers Guild. You have the big streamers at Disney, Netflix, Amazon, and the likes that are going through these negotiations with the execs at SAG and the Writers Guild that we pretty much have to watch and wait, and hopefully we won't be watching and waiting for too long. But I feel like with all this said, it's important to know that this is really just a fight for better working conditions for both writers and actors. The people that are the backbone of all of entertainment. The actors that represent and entertain us on and off screen. So it's really important that in these times that we support our actors and our writers, because these conditions and this strike are impacting them and us quite a bit. And of course, and even through this, different talent is being affected differently based on different demographics demographics that, you know, we're used to in society. So marginalized talent, smaller talent, like black, brown, queer, and the likes, talent that already has to work extra hard under the normal conditions to be booked and busy, now with the strike are disproportionately affected, even more so than they already were. And again, these talents specifically are the ones that are providing and showing out these different storylines that represent minority groups and give us those representative stories that we talk about so much on this channel. So yeah, my thoughts on the matter is that I hope that this all resolves very quickly, because now that there's pressure from both the writers and the actors, you can't ignore this. And it really sucks that entertainment is being held hostage like this, because people don't want to pay people fairly, and that it's taken this much and gone this far just for people to get paid and treated fairly. I just really hope that all of this resolves and that a resolution is able to be made that is fair to both SAG and the Writers Guild, because I feel like that would again set another precedent for talent as well as workers as a whole, because I'm all for fair pay. But yeah, I also think that this is going to be an interesting time for creators specifically, especially creators in the entertainment space, because again, I was watching one of Simone's videos and she made a really great point that if a resolution isn't made and these corporations want to be really underhanded and kind of shisty, instead of going to actors to promote these different shows and movies that have already been filmed and that need to be promoted before they come out, they'll end up going to creators, because they know that creators love and would need the exposure, the money, and the opportunity to work with these amazing brands, which really sucks because again, the exploitation goes even further. And especially for marginalized creators, these opportunities are even harder to turn down, because it's no secret that we're already overlooked for most other opportunities. So not saying that this will happen, but it's interesting and you should definitely keep your eyes open for an increase for creator and influencer promotions, collabs, and such for movies and TV shows after this strike actually goes into effect. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the matter. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about all of this? I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for hanging around and watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like on this video, subscribe, follow me on my socials at Imurgency. But other than that, I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.